The TSW Round Table is a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Follow at SW Commonwealth on Twitter and take your first steps into a larger world. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 1 of the TSW Roundtable. I'm your host, Robert Cast, and here we are. This show is dedicated to the Knights of the Commonwealth. What we're doing, we're having various hosts from around the Star Wars Commonwealth Network join me, and we're joined by invited Knights of the Commonwealth to join in like-minded conversation and Star Wars podcasting. So, our first guest host of the evening from the flagship show, I would suppose. It is Marc from Talk Star Wars.
Hey, Rob. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on episode 1. And, of course, his cohort, the second host on for the Talk Star Wars podcast.
Spoilers.
Yeah, sorry. He's also a host of Emotionally 14 and the Crazy Train podcast. Would you please welcome Rob Wade?
What up?
Yay! So, all right. So after that nice rocky start, okay. Are you guys ready to meet our knights?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. The first knight we're going to introduce to you of the Commonwealth, Ads. You want to say hi to everybody, Ads?
Hey guys, lovely to meet you all.
Ads.
Hello, Eds.
Welcome.
Good
How
to
is
finally
everyone?
speak.
Indeed. It's been a long time.
Yes, it really has.
This is awesome.
How is everyone?
All good.
Fantastic.
All good.
All right, so this is now we have Ads on the show. Okay, now we're going to shoot over. We have our second Knight of the Commonwealth. Connor, would you like to say hi to the good people?
I would love to say hi to the good people as soon as they arrive. Thank you.
Hey-o.
Ew.
Hey Connor.
He's cool.
Hello from Northern Ireland. Hello, Adam. Hello, everyone. Hello, Robert. Thanks for having me on this evening. It's a pleasure and an honor.
No, this is awesome, guys. Yeah, because we this is what the show is about. When I originally approached Marc and Rob, I had this little idea, and of course, for me, I get to be on the Talk Star Wars and also the Star Wars Commonwealth. So it's it's really awesome for myself too. So this is the format we're going to take. We're just having an informal conversation. But I've asked Ads and Connor to come up with a question each. They want to ask Marc and Rob, and we're going to have basically like they do on their shows, except we'll actually answer them in real time. So here we go. Ads, you want to start things off for us today?
Okay, all right, I will do. So, boys, as I said, really good to be on. And my question is, do we look back perhaps a little too fondly at the original trilogy? Because it was a time in our life, our childhood, we remember it fondly. Do you think we would consider A New Hope, Empire, Return of the Jedi in the same way if they were coming out now? So that's probably the question, and there's a few things I'd say depending what you come back with.
Okay, want to go, Marc? You want to take the first one?
Yeah, I think that's an awesome question. Short answer is no. I don't think we would look on them. I don't think we'd be as forgiving if they were to emerge right now. I don't think we would be as forgiving. So, yeah, there's a lot to be said for the fact that we've carried these things with us for 4 decades.
Yeah.
But having said that, I still think these movies, like we've seen the new versions now, The Force Awakens. We've all heard the accusations that it isn't that far away from A New Hope. So we've seen the new versions of these things hit the ground running and be enormously successful. So I think if you flush those stories through a modern filter, perhaps they would be successful. But showing up fully formed as they are today, no, I don't think so. I don't think we'd be as forgiving of them for their sins.
All right, but what about Connor? You want to jump in and add?
Yeah, I think Marc's right. There's a lot of rose-tinted spectacles because I remember a few weeks ago on one of the shows, Marc, he actually said, you have the original 77 version still on this.
I do, yeah. Yeah.
hold up well. Now I have the original 77 version on VHS. You remember, of course, we got the remasters with the THX sound. Then we got the ones with the special edition with the misstep with the Jabba scene. Then later on got updated. But there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot wrong with them. And as you say, we can be a bit forgiving with them. But then again, I think those wee things that are a wee bit wrong with them are what make them, make them so quirky and make us remember them so fondly, like the stormtrooper hitting his head and things like that. Remember wee things like that, which has become a meme in itself. And, there was even a facsimile of it when in the prequels they've done something very similar. It's almost, we look back on them fondly. They are flawed, but we do love them for their flaws. And maybe it is time we start to see them again in their purest form. I think we're due a re-release of them, just slightly touched up in their original form. Whether or not Disney's going to do that again is going to be really interesting to see, because we're coming up to that big 40-year anniversary this year. They're bound to have something special for us this year. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm just doing my usual rambling on. Which one?
All right. Well, Rob Wade, what do you think about Ad's question?
Yeah, I'm kind of with everybody on this one. I think in the age of YouTube videos specifically devoted to pointing out flaws in movies, albeit in a comedic way, things like cinema sins and honest trailers and stuff like that.
Exactly.
The fact that those things exist, I think we'd absolutely rip it to shreds if it came out today.
I think there's no thinking about it. I think you're 100% right there, Rob Wood, because Adam and I were talking last night, there's no one more critical of Star Wars than a Star Wars fan.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Definitely. They're the worst for critiquing the slightest thing. It's just all this inane chatter you see about the stupid, most minuscule of details. Oh, this would never happen, and it's just, guys. Okay, we know none of it could happen. The guys have got laser swords, for God's sake.
Yes, but it's wizards in space with laser swords. Yeah, really.
Exactly. For some reason, when it comes to Star Wars, it's put on this higher pedestal, and if there's the slightest misstep, it's jumped on. And you've seen it so many times. You guys are involved in all this, specifically you, Mark. You've seen this probably 1,000 times over. People are just ready to nitpick, but I think it's time we'll go back. I'm not a purist. Not a purist. There was an article last week on Tumbling Saber with the boys over there, and they had on something brilliant. Maybe it's time I saw a refresh of the first lightsaber battle. I don't know what you guys think. I thought it was a very valid point.
Oh yes, the Vader Obi-Wan.
Yeah, because it is old, and it's hard to watch, because Guinness Sir Alex was what, 65? He's the age. Mm-hmm. In his 60s, was doing that scene. Dave Prowse was, he wasn't exactly the most agile of characters, but time will tell what they're going to do to these. Because I think Disney, am I right? Do Disney not own the rights to the first one? Who owns the rights to the first one, Mark?
Fox. They own it for distribution, I believe, and they own the rights in perpetuity. So it'll never revert to Disney. No. In all honesty, I don't think we'll see anything done to the originals. And by originals, I mean the last George Lucas approved special edition. That's the definitive copy. I don't think we'll see anything done to those beyond a restoration for a new format. So 4K, but it'll be a 4K of the last released version.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a 4K. Yeah. That's valid, because people tend to forget that George Lucas, he wrote all these. I mean, they're his properties. He can do whatever he wants with them. You know what I mean? And then he often gets lambasted for the prequels and things. But I'm digressing now. I'll let you guys speak. So
no, absolutely. I agree with you, Connor. I think actually the first question I ever sent in to talk Star Wars was, I just recently watched the original versions of the trilogy, the original trilogy, and I was asking, what do you think, and this and that, and if you're watching, having the remasters done and having them watch, if you're watching 1 to 6, they make a lot of sense. And then, except I understand what you mean, because especially when you go from Revenge of the Sith and you see that Anakin Obi-Wan massive Mustafar lightsaber battle, and then you immediately watch New Hope and you see that
Yeah.
I don't know what
There is a massive juxtaposition.
The sparring.
I have this is I know James has problems with this at Tumbling Saber, but I really don't have an issue with that original duel between those two. George has described it as an old man and a man who's half machine. So you've never when he was describing the fights in the prequel trilogy, he was saying you've never seen a Jedi go full tilt because you've only ever seen an untrained boy, a half man, half machine, and an old man laser fight. That's George's take on it. But if you like, we were discussing previously before we started recording that Rogue One kind of recontextualizes some of this stuff now.
Oh yeah.
And the way we see Vader at the end of Rogue One, off the chain, it's because he had to. Yeah. There was a number of people that he was dealing with, and he was in a rage. He was trying to get something done.
So, Mark, do you think that the scene then with Obi-Wan and Darth Vader in A New Hope, do you sort of see that more as like a boxing, sparring sort of, that they weren't really fighting, they were sort of having a conversation whilst clashing? Yeah.
That's exactly the way I see it, Ed. And I don't think Obi-Wan had no intention of leaving. He knew that he knew what he was about to do. He was about to die. He knew he was going to die there. Yeah. And Vader knew there was no fight there. Yeah. So if Vader had come out swinging like he was just like an hour before when he was trying to stop the Tantive from taking off, it would have been, there was no point. What was Obi-Wan going to do? There was no fight there.
No.
Yeah.
So he only brought what he had to do.
Yeah. No, you're totally right.
I agree.
I totally agree. Because he looks across that hangar at Luke and sees him. When Luke looks through the blast doors and sees Ben and Vader having the duel, and Ben looks across at him and he sees, okay, the young lad's safe. He's about to get on the ship and escape. It's time for him. I'm the diversionary tactic. He's out of there. He's safe.
And there's more to it as well. There's much more going on there too, because he knows if Luke sees Vader kill him.
Exactly. It's a diversionary tactic. Classic.
It's a diversion, but it's also propaganda in a way. Yeah. Because Obi-Wan knows if he's murdered by Vader in front of Luke, it will affect the way Luke sees Vader.
Of course, yeah.
And that's kind of what he means by if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful, because he becomes a martyr to the cause. Yeah. And that's why Luke's so devoted to Obi-Wan after that point.
Yeah. No, that's a very, very valid point, and it's the performance, as you say, when it goes back to Sir Alec's performance, whenever he says, when he takes the slight gulp and he says, your father was betrayed and murdered by the invader. It's so nuanced that you can take it either way. But that's that's what's so beautiful about. But there are so many little nuances about the performance from Alec Guinness, and a lot of the cast. They're just like, oh, okay, right. Maybe this is a bit deeper than just wizards in space with swords, because it is. That's why there's so many podcasts. But that's why we're here talking about it.
Yeah, of course,
absolutely. Sorry, Connor. I think when you talk about Obi-Wan saying, "Oh, Anakin or Vader killed your father," that's almost like an alcoholic saying, "Oh, the alcoholic guy killed the innocent, happy-go-lucky guy." It's almost like this dark side, this darker thing that killed the original personality. And in the way he said it, like from a certain point of view, obviously, he's speaking truth.
Totally, totally. But it's just so layered,
Yeah, no, is it just on ads as the original question? Now, you're saying, do you think, okay, you were wondering if the original trilogy would be scrutinized. Maybe we'll get Rob Wade to jump in on this. Do you think, because of the dawn of the internet, you think Phantom Menace fell victim to that when it came out?
Partly. I think also there was probably a lot of anticipation, and that's a double-edged sword.
Yes,
because you see this in every media. It's if something goes on for too long in terms of hype, it instantly backfires, and anything that you deliver won't live up to the hype that you've got in head. What also didn't help it was that, by all accounts, from everybody I listen to who says that they don't like the prequels, one of the things they all agree on is that one of the trailers looked awesome, and so when you see an awesome trailer, then you go to see a movie and it doesn't live up to what you have in your head, you're doubly disappointed, because it's that's what you've been kind of building up in your mind, and then it doesn't come. So it's I think that's part of it. I think if Phantom Menace was released now, forget about it. It'd be savage to pieces.
Don't say it. Don't say it. You're wrong. Sorry, Robert, just before we go any further, my question is, this was going to be the second part of Ad's question, as it were. So we're going to maybe backtrack a bit.
Okay.
Because what my question was going to be, do you think as the Phantom Menace, if it was released as part 1 and we knew there was 5 coming, do you think that the Phantom Menace would have got its sequels? Do you think it would have been as successful on that one film?
So if they were put out first, i.e.
Right. Well, okay, Phantom Menace, there's this new franchise comes, okay? Mm-hmm. And it's called Star Wars. And they released this episode 1, and we're hearing there's 6 episodes. Okay, we'll get this first film in the year 2000 if it's released. These are 6 films. Do you think if people had seen that film, they would have rushed back to see Attack of the Clones? Do you not think that those films, obviously the nature of them being prequels, that the reason people rush back to see them is because they were Star Wars, that it had the legacy of the OT? Because I think if Phantom Menace, now I don't get me wrong, guys, I am sick of all the hatred of the prequels. All the prequel hate just grinds my gears. But I think as a standalone film to set up the other 5, I think he would have had trouble if he was going back to the studio. Remember, I'm saying this if he was creating it from episode 1 himself, non-financing itself after people went and seen it. Do you think there would have been queues round the block to see the Phantom Menace if it was the first of 6?
What do you? I think, Connor, what you're getting at. Anybody remember what was it with that franchise, The Last Airbender?
Oh yeah.
Remember they were supposed to have like 3 or 4, and
the Golden Compass.
Yeah, it just died, so it just fell off the face. Are you saying you think that would happen? Would something similar happen to Star Wars Phantom Menace if
that was the first of 6 movies and we them had Attack of the Clones, Sith, 4, 5, and 6 to come? Do you think the sheer appetite for episode 2 of this somewhat mediocre part 1 of 6 do you think it could sustain the momentum to get 6 out of that film, or would it be a case by the time we get the episode 4, or would it have been straight to DVD or something?
I think that depends on who's actually going to watch it, because
exactly.
If you take the prequels, and I watch my boys.
We had this conversation last night.
Watching the DVDs, and I line them all up on the floor in front of the TV, and I get a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old to choose which films they want to watch. And for about a month, I was watching Attack of the Clones.
I know.
Wow.
Every single time, because they loved the massive lightsaber fight, with all of the Jedi. Now, bizarrely and happily, they choose Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
But there was a love for the prequels, a definite kind of his favorite character, the 3-year-old, is Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's not Luke Skywalker.
He looks kind though, He's got that about him. He's got that look about him, which is just,
George would always say that he created the sequels for kids.
I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's understandable, because if you get a young fan, you've got a fan for life. My God, man, I'm 45 years of age, and I'm sitting talking to you 4 fine gentlemen here, and still talking about Star Wars. I'm looking at a Millennium Falcon shaped biscuit tin at the moment.
God bless you, sir.
I've got 3 Star Wars lithographs on my wall behind me. I mean, our appetite.
I've got an R2D2 bop it.
Yeah. Our appetite for Star Wars is insatiable. Now. And we're living in a time now, Adam, you and I discussed this last night, remember? We're in a time now, guys, where we're getting a Star Wars film every year.
Well,
it's Christmas now, isn't it? It's Christmas.
Is, guys, seriously, this is unprecedented. If somebody had to say to your young 10, 11-year-old man, I was 8 whenever New Hope came out, if somebody had said, by the way, Connor, you're going to get one of these every year for the rest of your life, I would have been like, oh yeah,
Well, that's I hate to use the word fan, but just to put things in perspective, we are actually we're recording a fan show of a fan show of a franchise.
It's the most meta.
Can I just say, Rob Wade is my biggest fan. Oh no, the other
There
way
is
around.
that.
Well, you are a big deal.
Well, ads
He's
are a huge deal,
he's a
mate.
big deal.
Okay, so Mark, let me throw it to you. Okay, if we just speaking on that line, if we have Phantom Menace, now if we
Yeah.
had no idea what Star Wars it was, obviously, you and myself and Connor are all the same age, and right exactly at the point where we're in our late 20s, mid 20s when Phantom Menace came out, and we have all the nostalgia for the original trilogy and all the hype. If we just would have walked into the theater and saw it, I think I would have been pleasantly surprised and very amazed at the Phantom Menace without the Star Wars title on it.
Yeah, are we in this scenario? Are we suggesting that there has been no Star Wars
Nothing.
and this is the first thing?
You went to go
Yeah.
review a movie and you saw Phantom Menace.
It would be one of the biggest films of all time.
Exactly. Yeah, and also too, I think in the Force Awakens, Phantom Menace created the perfect storm for Force Awakens. Now, if you figure, because I know everybody again our age that went in, anybody that was disappointed by Phantom Menace went into Force Awakens. Optimistic, but like a little leery. Like we don't want to get this. We don't want to get our hopes up. So because it was a great movie, it was just it kind of makes it better in everybody else's eyes because we were expecting a little bit less. We weren't as hopeful as we were when Phantom Menace came out.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, I think this. It's very easy to sort of lose sight of the fact that what brought the prequels down was fan expectation, and not just the expectation when you queued up to get in and you were wondering what exactly is this Darth Maul guy all about, or what will the clones look like when they actually start their warfare. It's everything that was written between the credits rolling on Return of the Jedi and the first Phantom Menace poster ended up in foyers of theatres. From that moment, from the end of Return of the Jedi, we're all writing these things over and over in our minds.
Yeah.
What happens next? What happened before? What you see that number 4 on A New Hope, and you start wondering what these stories were before. That one little throwaway line about the Clone Wars, and we were colouring in all the detail.
Well,
we haven't got in Force Awakens.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sorry, Ed, what was it?
Exactly
I was going to say it's a clean slate, isn't it? With Force Awakens, it's a different kind of build up because we have no idea what's coming. Whereas, as you rightly say, Mark, with the prequels, we know what is eventually going to happen, and it's a case of getting to that point. And it's still built up and built up and built up, but it's not the same as the Force Awakens, where this brand new story based in the universe that we love was about to start. And they did it very well. But
a lot of people got their knickers in a twist because the film was a retread of A New Hope.
Yeah.
A lot of people said that. And even though I can write it off as being the rhyming stanzas that George always spoke about, this is history kind of repeating itself. No one learns from their mistakes. And that's kind of what we're seeing. One of our hosts even wrote The Force Awakens off as a retread of A New Hope. Initially, because I think a lot of people felt that we should have come out the gates with these new movies and had something completely original.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to retread what we'd already experienced, even though this is a smart move for Lucasfilm to build in the nostalgia, and then we can take an original turn in the next movie.
And what would have happened there, Mark, do you think? As what has happened very similarly to Rogue One, I've heard people saying it's not really Star Wars. If it hadn't come out with some kind of, you need something to relate to for it to be Star Wars. If it had come out completely, as you say, swinging out of the gate with these all new characters, even the thing alone that they still have Luke and Han in it, some respects, is to bring the older fan in, and then they're going to usher in the newer fan. It can't be totally new, because one, it would alienate the older audience like ourselves. It would be like, oh man, look at me, it's not no more. And then the younger ones, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Well, that's it. This is the catch-22 that Disney bought into.
Exactly.
So there's no way. It's a fool's errand to think that they're ever going to please everybody. But what you can already see now that a year on, Force Awakens is starting to pull people around. Mm-hmm. Paul on our podcast, he wasn't a big fan.
Yeah,
I saw him tonight.
He was coming around.
he's coming around now. He loves it now. He couldn't get enough of it. I think like I said to him back in it must be a year ago now, when we sat down and did our breakdown of Force Awakens, I said, you need to learn how to watch these new films. We all have to develop a new skill set because we're watching films. We don't know where they're going.
Because with episodes 1, 2, and 3, we knew where they were going because they had to link up the 4, 5, and 6, just as ads was saying.
Exactly.
But we don't know where they're going. We're on this new adventure now. We don't know where they're going, and that's why we are together talking like this. Where we're going, when's a new trailer, who's going to be in it, what is Snoke, who is Rey.
Who is Snoke?
Where it's all going.
It's enough to fuel an entire network of podcasts.
It's mental, isn't it?
It's almost like you have some kind of meta podcast about the podcast.
The inception of the Commonwealth.
Podception.
Okay, so Rob Wade, you're coming at it from a slightly different angle. I think you're 10 years my junior anyway. And
I'm 32, if that helps.
But pardon me?
I'm 32, if that helps.
Oh, yeah, you are exactly 10 years. Well, 11 years, my junior.
So, sorry, I didn't mean to bring you on a downer.
It's okay. I'm okay.
You're all right with 10. You made your peace with 10.
Yes. It's okay. I work out, so no.
All right, show off.
Hey, well, okay, so you're coming at it from. So obviously you weren't part of the New Hope or Star Wars projected generation. So when you got into it, once you were a little older and you got to see the remakes, the special editions.
Yeah.
Does this have any effect, like how they're going and how we look back at all this original stuff? Like, do you obviously? Do you have a nostalgia for the original VHS versions, or is it?
I do. I mean, to a point, but I suppose because, as you kind of alluded to, the special editions are what I grew up with.
Right.
Although I did have the original trilogy on VHS too.
Yes.
And they were what I watched first. But this first cinema experience was really the special editions. So, and plus I was about, I think 11 when, no, it would have been about 13 when they came out. So that was kind of, I was pretty ideally placed for those really, in terms of cinema releases. They were perfect. And especially as Jedi was out around my birthday, so
awesome.
That worked out well. Yeah, so, that was my birthday. Was take me and a dozen of my friends to see Return of the Jedi, please.
Oh, fantastic! So that set you up for the prequels, pretty much. You just fell right into it. It was almost like boom, 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 and.
Well, I think part of the reason I stick with the prequels is because I have a kind of certain nostalgia of having seen every single one with my dad. At some point, except for Rogue One. That's the first one I haven't seen with my dad. He went to see it elsewhere, and I went to see it elsewhere.
Right.
But every film before that, at some point, I've been to see it with my dad. And with the prequels, especially Episode 1, we went together really early on when it first came out, and we paid stupid money to sit in really nice seats and everything like that. So we really kind of made a big deal out of it as well, which probably it taints adds the nostalgia a little bit.
Yep.
Who knows?
Absolutely.
The experience is part of it too.
Oh, I saw New Hope at the drive-in in the '77 with my parents.
We never really had those.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, and again, I think Mark, you'll agree with this. This is I call it the projected age.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's as good a term as any. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. We saw it. So okay. Well, ads. Was your question sufficiently answered by the round table?
I would say it was more than sufficiently answered. Good job, everyone.
Outstanding.
I would have been going, what more can we say?
Yeah.
Okay, so Connor, was your question was it just the follow-up question, or do you have something?
My question was piggybacking off the back of Adam's question, which his was about the 4, 5, 6. Mine was about the 1, 2, 3. But Rob, I just have just a further question for you. When you're saying you went and seen the film with your dad and you paid stupid money to go and see it, honestly, when now in this day where the prequels are now suffering, well, not suffering, they're now getting a bit more love now because I don't know about you, but when I left, I went and seen episode 1 with a few friends of mine when I used to work with at a midnight showing, and we were almost at the front row because we booked the tickets really late in the evening, and we were almost looking vertical up at the screen to see it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, buddy.
Yeah, I don't remember leaving the cinema and thinking that was rubbish. I
No,
remember,
not at all. I was well
remember.
lined up.
But where did all this come from? All of a sudden, like people are looking back and going, "Okay, all this prequel hate come from?" Because there is a lot of it out there.
People
There's
love
a
to
lot of it.
criticize. They
Oh,
love.
for sure.
They love to
Yeah.
knock something down.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
I think that was
society.
that was
Mark,
probably when
but
we first
what about
started to see signs of that. Because I mean, if you think about it, then the web was kind of,
Yeah, and
you
it's
know,
infancy.
it was in its relative infancy, certainly compared to what it's like now. I mean, even 15 years ago, it'd be almost impossible to conceive of how much stuff we have and how much access we have.
Yeah.
Even
My God,
15 years
look,
ago. So that's like
we used to
17 years for Phantom Menace? 99, wasn't it?
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, I didn't mean to make you feel.
No.
But yeah, I think that kind of the internet stuff, especially the kind of the movie forums and stuff and that sort of thing, were really just taken off. So I think it sounds really cynical to say, but I think part of it was just having something to talk about, you know, and having something they could kind of rally around. And I mean, there's a hipster thing to it as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool to hate on the popular thing. So, you know, at the time, the prequels would have been getting a lot of love because they didn't do bad money at the box office by any means. The prequels, they still did really well. So I think some people just like to crap on what's popular. And we still see that now. You still get more of it's outrage press nowadays.
And
That's the angle they approach it from.
And if anything, the internet is now. I was never one for going to opening night because I'm not one of these guys. I don't like the crowds. I'd rather go. I'd rather enjoy it. I don't want the lineups, and especially with the prequels because that was before we could buy our tickets online. Now, because of the internet and all, you're so paranoid to be spoiled. I find more people are going to opening night or Friday night, seeing it as soon as possible.
Just absolutely. That's why I do it.
Yeah. So maybe the buzz and all the Facebook or social media or anything is helping these opening weekend box office.
Yeah, maybe.
Because I know
they burn a lot brighter and a lot faster, these films now, don't they?
Yeah,
totally.
Because if I knew I could be spoil free, I would wait till Sunday matinee. Like I know I'm dying to see it, but I can wait a couple days. It's
you can see it more at your leisure than
you got
the midnight showing on a Thursday, which is what I did.
The irony of this is that Rob, you and I run a podcast where we talk about all the spoilers for these films. And you guys listen to it.
Oh, yeah. This wasn't something
none of us are going to go in unspoiled, right?
This is it. What's interesting is when I started emailing in to talk Star Wars way back when, I wasn't that kind of guy at all. I was the opposite. I would steer as clear as I possibly could from speculation. Now I'm buried in that stuff just because I have to be. But I've had to get out of my way on it a lot.
See, I find to a certain extent, within reason, it makes my experience better.
Yeah,
because I fully understand what I'm about to watch, rather than I don't get necessarily the shock or the whoa moment, but I enjoy it because I understand what I'm watching.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I can see the appeal. I mean, it's different strokes for different folks, isn't it? Ultimately?
Absolutely. I mean,
it's not to say that your approach is worse or better than mine. It's just you do things slightly differently. I mean,
definitely.
Did you? I mean, how much did you go in knowing about Rogue One?
Only what I'd sort of taken in from what you guys, from Tumbling Saber, the Commonwealth, the podcasts. I didn't necessarily go looking for it on the internet, but I was happy to sort of let whatever you said in, but not much else, if that makes sense. I'm not like James from. Yeah, James from Tumbling Saber, bless him. I mean, he has kind of the view that he doesn't want to know at all, does he? And I know with some of the trailers, he was sort of letting himself watch bits and pieces towards the end, but he probably got a lot more of the wow factor because he didn't see those trailers. Whereas as soon as the trailers dropped, I was watching it.
Well, actually, with Rogue One, he probably didn't get anything from that because half the stuff in the trailers wasn't in the movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got something interesting about that on this week's show, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I saw something about that in the week. So, yeah.
I think with Rogue One, it's the first for me anyway because I started. I think podcasts. I've been listening to podcasts for a while, but I stumbled across once Force Awakens hits. I stumbled across Talk Star Wars, and this is the first movie I've been able to kind of anticipate with a community. if that makes any sense at all. Rather than a message board where I'm typing, I can actually hear discussion, and also not only discussion from you guys, but like Az was saying, from Tumbling Saber, and then Gen X-Wing. Like you get so many opinions.
Yeah.
And Rob, this is the first time in the last year, because of what you guys have sort of developed with the Commonwealth, with this great bunch of sort of people on Twitter and social media. I came out of Rogue One, and I was desperate to start messaging people. I wanted to speak to you guys, everyone.
Right away,
I wanted to tweet, and I wanted to say, "Oh my God, that was amazing!" And it was so frustrating because the different time zones, and I knew when people in Canada and America were going to watch it, and I had to wait till the next day. And I knew that Mark, that Rob, you guys had seen it before me, and that you'd posted cryptic sort of messages about the shuttle number, Mark, and stuff like that. And,
built into my rating.
Yes.
I came out of it, and I sat in my car in the car park, pitch black. And I went on Twitter and I was like, really want to text or tweet something.
Because
so
you texted me.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You and I were speaking that evening. It was like, what do I say? I was like, oh no, we can't really talk to anyone yet. No.
No.
Maintain radio silence. Mark, here's one for you.
Yes.
Okay. How did you feel whenever they didn't pick up your Tidarium theory?
How did I feel?
Yeah. Personally, I think they dropped the ball, man. I think they dropped the ball.
I think, I can agree with that, actually.
I really do think they dropped the ball.
When they blew up the shuttle, I was like, okay, now I see why.
Yeah. Back in the summer when I floated that theory.
Still my favorite of all time.
Just after we mentioned it on the podcast, there was the announcement about the reshoots. And I thought, no, maybe they've heard. Maybe this is why they're reshooting a movie to build Tidarium in. How I felt? Well, I'll tell you, I was watching that because, I got to see it a couple of days ahead of time. So it was just two of us in there, and me and the guy I was watching it with, I hadn't mentioned the Tidarium theory to him. So when they crash on Edu, and Cassian says to Bodhi, go and get us go and boost us another ride.
That's what I thought it was going to happen.
I thought, here we go. And I shuffled forward in my seat and I thought, I'm just about to nail it. I'm going to nail it.
And they've got it recorded to prove it.
I thought, I've made this big deal out of saying all the theories I make, if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Lies. All of that is lies. I was devastated. I was devastated.
That's what I thought it was going to happen. I said, this is it. This is going to be Mark's theory's going to pay off here. And then it didn't happen because it was a misstep.
I think it would have been cool.
It would have been a great little Easter egg, wouldn't it? Maybe it would have been a step too far. I don't know. But I liked it.
Listen, if you can have 3PO and R2 standing on Yavin whenever just given it, they're off to Scarif. Thank God I'm not going. They could throw in a shuttle Tidarium.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because how those two droids made it on their country for a couple of hours later, I don't know. But anyway, it's like Bond the Pablo, whatever his name was, he made it to the other side of the galaxy, the Mos Eisley Cantina, and he was in Jeddah a couple of hours previous,
Yeah,
so,
that's really upset people, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
That one I didn't get.
That's exactly, we're back to that again. Just there's no one likes to hate Star Wars more than a Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
When you love something truly, you see all its flaws magnified. That's what it is.
Yeah, exactly. But
that's what sorry, Connor, but that's what I like about Mark. I was extremely envious of you seeing it, especially here in Canada. You were damn near 3 days before I got a chance, and I had the opening night ticket. But your advice to just go in and watch it and just don't try to pick it apart, like leave that for the second viewing.
The second view it's for.
Exactly, but that was fantastic. I enjoyed the movie. I wasn't looking for all these little things. I just okay, I'm sitting down. I was very aware that I'm going to watch a brand new Star Wars movie, and this is it. It's happened 8 times now in our life, so it doesn't happen often. So your advice to go in and just enjoy it and don't pick it apart. And then I saw a matinee the weekend after. I actually went by myself, and I just sat down and I was watching, and I just got to just enjoy it. like I got to pick it apart. I got to enjoy it the first time and then pick it apart and look for all the little subtleties after listening to all the podcasts after. And also, I had a woman there. There's a shuttle. And no, I didn't have a woman. I had a woman in the theater, I should say. My wife's in the other room.
Popcorn and
the newborn child. My goodness, man.
Rob, shush.
Yeah, but I was watching it, and then Rob, you were mentioning watching people's reactions when they're watching a movie, and I saw the shuttle landing on at Vader's temple there on Mustafar, and then a woman. She was with her boyfriend or something, and they were all excited as the movie started, and they're excited when the credits started and everything else, and you can tell this is her first viewing, and she got up to use the wash, and I'm like, oh no, and then she came back and saw Vader walk off the screen.
Oh, no way.
What a mistake.
I know, but it's like any other time in the movie, it's like, there's so many great, and then it just as that shuttle was coming, like, and she's, I gotta go to the washroom. Oh no, and I can't say anything. I'm not gonna stop.
Rugby tackler.
Yeah, pee your pants.
Exactly. You just go, excuse me, how desperately do you need to go?
Wait 2 minutes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask just really quickly?
Yeah,
Sorry,
of course.
guys. Can I ask one?
There is no quickly. Just ask.
Yeah.
I've watched it 3 times, but I've watched all 3 of them prior to obviously the late great Carrie Fisher. Has anyone watched it since her death?
Yes.
And because I imagine that last scene, it's become so much more significant and so much more fitting because of what's happened. Has anyone experienced both sides?
Yeah.
What's that, sorry?
I have to, yeah.
In what respect?
Seen Rogue One since we lost Carrie.
Yeah, before and after.
Oh, no, I haven't. But I've started watching A New Hope on my commute, so I've kind of got that element. And I watched New Hope on New Year's Eve as well, actually.
Yeah.
I just wondered how that last scene went.
So, Connor, did that change things for you when you saw it with knowing?
It did. Leo and I both went to see Rogue One on the Wednesday evening, and the second we come home, I think it was. I was off work on the Friday, so I was thinking, I'll get a night's sleep. I can catch up and sleep later. We came straight home and watched A New Hope straight off the back of Rogue One. Amazing. And then we went to, which does completely recontextualize the start of that movie, because I was like, Leo, look at this. It's like, my God, Vader's hot on their heels straight on the end of this. And then Leo and I and my wife and my daughter, we went away for a weekend for my wife's birthday up to the north of Ireland, up towards Malin Head, where they were filming episode 8. And we got up there, and I says to Leo, would you like to go and see Rogue One whenever we get back? He says, yeah. We went back and seen it for the second time. And I must say, we enjoyed it much. Even said, Dad, I enjoyed it much more the second time, which I did and he did. And then over Christmas, I watched, of course, the unfortunate news about the late and very great Carrie Fisher. Leo went to bed, because sometimes he just gets, Dad, not more Star Wars, please. And
to bed with you.
Yeah.
How dare you?
And I was like, well, you've no idea, Rob. You're joking, but you've no idea. But
he's got biscuits in.
Yeah, I watched Empire, actually, because I realized I don't have the Blu-ray box set of the original trilogy or the prequels. So I only have my silver bound episode 4, 5, and 6 with Mark. Remember the one came with a bonus disc?
Yep. Yeah,
I have that. So I put it on. My God, it is quite grainy when you watch it on a decent telly. But I watched Empire and I went, man, this is really, really sad. It's totally. It's like most of our idols, they're all eventually. There will become a time whenever the likes of your kids are growing up, Adam, that these people in these movies. Are eventually they're all going to be gone. It's like if you watch an old Jimmy Cagney movie or a Jimmy Stewart movie or a Bogart movie or a McCall movie. Yeah, they're not even because she's still with us. But you watch something like that, they're gone. But the beauty about these films, that cinema captures the moment and captures these. They'll always be immortalized on film.
She was. You know, the princess. If you say the word princess, the most natural word to follow is Leia.
That's a great point. That's amazing.
You can't find a more fitting, following word in my view. But she was amazing.
Yeah, it was, and there's so many facets to her character. I mean, a lot of people, she was just Princess Leia. Of course, she was the crazy ex-wife in the Blues Brothers, and of course, she done the script doctoring for numerous shows and things. And very, very talented lady. But she will always be. I don't know for you guys, but she'll always be the girl in the golden bikini and me and Return. And I know she didn't really like that, and they recalled the figures, and Disney had done away with all those images. But by golly, she looked good, and by the time we got to Return of the Jedi,
I'm really partial to Hoth Leia, actually.
Yeah.
I really am. Every time I see a kind of behind the scenes photo, it's always Hoth Leia that kind of.
Yeah, she looks pretty Hoth to me, Mark.
Well,
I tweeted shortly after she died. I think it was a response to something that Kyle had put out from Tumbling Saber, and that scene where she is on a par, if not more so, with Vader and Tarkin. Just before Alderaan's destroyed. And as a 19-year-old girl in 1977, the presence she had, looking back now, it's incredible to think that she was able to put that kind of performance out there. And she's just changed. Well, she's changed everything.
Because she grew up with a part.
Yeah, exactly.
Because she was, 18, 19-year-old, and she grew up with a part. We watched this young lady blossom into a woman over this, and as she grew, the character grew, and that was the beauty of it. We grew up. It's back to the old rose-tinted spectacles. We watched these characters grow with us over the years. We watched them grow. We watched them flourish, and my God, they flourished on screen in front of us. We watched the young farm boy grow up into this knight.
Yeah, I mean,
the journey was, we were on this journey, and that's what
Star Wars became bigger than just a film, and I think Carrie Fisher and Leia and the Luke and Han, they became bigger than just characters. The spectrum, the broadness that they have reached, you won't find that with any other film that I can think of.
That stands to reason why we're actually talking today. Like, you think. Special effects, having a leading lady in an authoritative role, even merchandising, everything across the board when it comes to Star Wars that's why we're here today. Like it's changed so much for everything right across the board. And again, that's why we're talking about it now.
Definitely.
Sure.
That's what we'll be talking about it in 10 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And our kids will be. It's not going away.
No, for sure.
But even now, it's back even stronger. Disney didn't buy this to put on the shelf to release a special edition every couple of years. Disney bought this because we've already saw. We've had Rogue One, which I was reading an article this evening. It's the 10th highest grossing film so far. I
think it's gone up since then.
I think you're right, Rob. That was the article.
Yeah, I think it's 8th, creeping up on 7th.
It's just another 10 million, and it'll beat Finding Dory, and that was a huge hit for Pixar this year.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But I mean, as I said, you guys will obviously we're recording after Talk Star Wars this week was yet to go out, but the question I sent you in this week, I don't know how you felt about that. The people will hear this after, but I sense, Adam, you've listened to this week's show.
I have, yeah.
Well, I haven't listened to it, but I sense that a lot of that stuff that went to the cutting room floor, I think that Disney have got a whole new slant on this, and they know how hungry we are for this, and they know we will double dip or triple dip on editions. My goodness, man, they released a special edition Force Awakens 3D Blu-ray.
Yeah,
I don't have a 3D TV, but I saw it in Tesco the other night for 15 quid, and I'm going to buy it for the commentary because that's what Star Wars fans do.
Yeah, that's why I got it for Christmas. I haven't got a 3D TV.
There you go, and that's what we do. And I think we're going to see it's a whole new direction for the Star Wars stories, and I think we're a whole new direction. Take a new direction with the stories, and we're going to take a new direction with the format of the movies. Like remember they did with Blade Runner. We got not we got 5 different versions of that by the end. But I think we're going to get that more warlike movie that we all thought it was going to be, and we'll eventually get that maybe a year down the line on the back, like they did similar with Lord of the Rings. We got episodes. Sorry,
I
Mark.
will be really surprised if they do.
Do you?
I will be really surprised if they do. I think that looking at the way Kathleen is running this and how careful she's being to be conservative with her approach, I don't expect we'll see much of that cutting room floor footage. I don't think we're going to get much of a glimpse at anything that challenges canon.
Yeah, like K2SO on the beach, stuff like that.
Canon will rule because they don't want anything out there. Even like look at the stuff on that Blu-ray set you were talking about, Connor, the 3D Blu-ray set. The deleted scenes that are in there enhance canon. They don't contradict any of it. Like in the Force Awakens trailer, there was an image of Maz passing Leia the lightsaber.
Yes.
You'll never see that again. That's not on the deleted scenes because it contradicts canon. But Chewie pulling Unkar Plutt's arms off, you can leave that in there because we're probably not going to revisit that character. So it doesn't matter. If you see that, that could be canon, maybe not. You might be getting a peek at something that happened and the camera just wasn't running. But
you've got to protect those people that don't love or understand or know the story to the same extent that everyone else does.
You can't for a second have, like Rob said, K2SO making it out of that data silo and running along the beach because that contradicts canon. I can't imagine they'll do a director's cut. I don't think they'll put out another cut because you want to protect canon fiercely, and also you don't want to be accused of doing what Lucasfilm have done before, which is cynically put out a modified version of the film to get money for old rope. Now, I don't know if that was Lucasfilm's intention at any point, but that's how it was viewed by a lot of people. I don't think they want to go that way again because they know, it's only a year. Well, it'll be less than a year between Rogue One ending its theatrical release and Episode 8 hitting. Yeah. How much money did Disney need to make?
Yeah.
They're already making money hand over fist. They don't need to release a director's cut to do more business. And all you're going to do is challenge canon. Sorry.
Sorry about that. I just more to that. Disney, I know they're notorious for everything. They keep everything close to their chest. They don't let anything else out. They're very careful. And again, like you said, they're protecting canon. I know. I do some comic book reviews, and I get a watermarked PDF of the upcoming books coming out every Wednesday. So I can download them to my iPad and I can read these books and review them. That way I can release a review the day they come out. I get DC, I get IDW, I get everything except...
So jealous.
Except Marvel.
I'm still jealous.
Disney will not allow... I get... When I read the new Star Wars books, it's the day when I go to my store and I pull them off the shelf. Mm-hmm. And that has a lot to do with Disney and keeping everything... we're Disney... We're not going to have a preview audience and get a feel for the movie. We're not going to let you see anything. And like I said, I can see, next week's Superman. No problem. And they have no problem. It's all protected, so I can't share it with anybody type thing. But then they're not worried about it because what am I going to do with it? But Disney, no way. No, they won't let anything have it.
In December, they kind of broke their tradition in releasing 28 minutes to certain outlets. Rob, you and I had that discussion about the way Rebel Force Radio managed that journo. That was at the event where they played 28 minutes.
Oh, yeah, and that's right.
All that came out of that event was, it's too fast. We move from one location to the next.
Which for the first half hour is fair criticism, but at the same time, you need that.
But that's the pace of one 3-act film in a Star Wars franchise. It hasn't got the benefit of a sequel to rely on, and without a New Hope is traditionally it's a sequel, but 28 minutes, and people were saying, well, we don't know if that was 28 minutes or if it's 28 separate little sections stuck together for our benefit, or what is this the first 28 minutes of the film or not? We don't know. I don't think you'll see Disney do that again. And I don't think they'll do it with 8 because they don't have to sell these things.
They don't need to.
They sell themselves. They don't need the advanced press.
No.
That has to be admired, though, that a company that size can plug every single leak. You know, how many times was seen the code for something, some pre-release video game?
They don't plug every single link. I know this for a fact.
Yeah,
because I learned of one that ended up being. Yeah, there was a leak that ended up being true, which I dismissed at the time because the source it came from I didn't think was much cop. But I know how it was obtained, or I suspect I know, and it was from a place you wouldn't expect. Yeah, I won't say any more than that. Because obviously,
no, of course not.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what we're gonna do? We're approaching our hour here, but what I wanted to do, we can go a little bit longer, but expectations for 2017.
I personally think that we're going to suddenly see a huge amount of rebels, shall we say, coming across into the main saga, and little Easter eggs being dropped left, right, and centre. I mean, the latest trailer for the mid-season, suggested so many good things that were about to sort of hit there, and there seems to be a real determination to connect Rebels, Rogue One, the Clone Wars, etc., and I would say that to me is quite exciting. And then obviously the golden egg at the end is episode 8.
Excellent. Rob Wade, what do you think?
I think that's true. I think we're going to start seeing the threads that tie everything together. I think we've already started seeing them.
Definitely.
Little things like I'm one with the Force is with me.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff. I think those are very subtly weaving the threads that we're going to start seeing tie everything together across all of Star Wars. Even if we don't get the explicit connection overtly on screen, we're going to start seeing those threads that we can connect the dots on ourselves. I mean, I'm even starting to see, like I said before we started talking, I had a watch of A New Hope, and even little lines here and there that you just pick up on that you think, oh, that's interesting. Oh. Especially as some of that stuff is really subtly reframed by Rogue One.
Yeah.
I think that stuff's going to start happening, like Ad said, sooner rather than later. That's going to start being tied in.
Okay, well, Mark, I know you've been reading. Have you been into the Darth Vader? Have you finished the entire series?
No, not the entire series. I'm in Vader Down at the moment.
Okay, but you've been into have you read any of the Star Wars main comic?
They've been hit or miss for me. I started the Star Wars main comic and then I dropped it. And then I picked up Obi-Wan and Anakin and then I dropped that.
Yep.
The only one I've stuck with is Vader, and I'm finding it absolutely thrilling. And
it is.
And I'm loving Vader Down at the moment, really enjoying it.
Yeah, and Vader Down does tie into the Star Wars, the main run. But
yes, it does, yeah.
For tying in stuff, because you I just know you've read them or you have been reading them. You think we're going to weave in and out in 2017 comics into Rebels like what Ads and Rob were getting at.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that the story group are in place for a reason, and I don't think it's accidental that we're starting to see this stuff. I think Rebels had to build a platform, much the same way as Rogue One had to build a platform for a Star Wars story, and Rebels had to build a platform for the animated shows to jump off on. Now they've got sure footing. I think that they will start to feed up to the big screen rather than just feed on what falls off the big screen. So now they're going to be able to start adding to canon themselves
I've never thought of that. Like, actually, because everything like you mentioned, everything they've been doing was like, oh, let's springboard off this idea from the movie, or let's springboard off this idea in this comic from the movies,
yes.
like you said, actually, for us to see stuff on TV and look forward to, like we noticed Chopper, we noticed the Ghost in Rogue One, like to actually, I've never actually thought of that before. That's awesome.
It's very rare that you'll get like the junior partner, TV being this lowly little weekly thing on a kids' TV channel, throwing something up on a big screen the way they did in Rogue One. To see Chopper, to hear Hera Sendula referred to see the ghost.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see the transfer of information in that direction. And now, after Rob and I spoke to Anthony Bresnick, and we know that Lucasfilm are deliberately holding. Oh, thank you. To see them holding back on Obi-Wan the way they are, and then having pop up in Rebels.
Yes.
I think that's unprecedented. That they could have said, yes, Ewan McGregor, yes, trilogy of movies, but no, they didn't. They said, let's put him in the TV show.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Mark, just quick.
Yep.
So, how about the whole General Hera leading the brave Bothans?
That's what I want. Yeah, I've been banging that drum for a while now. That I think that will be the spiritual sequel to Rogue One.
Yeah.
That we'll see the crew of the Ghost, or whoever survives the crew of the Ghost, running that mission for Mon Mothma. But now I wonder whether that will take place on the small screen rather than be a Star Wars story.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, so Connor, 2017. What are you thinking?
I agree with everything I'm hearing, and I have to say about the power of the small screen now, where TV years ago was something that somewhere that actors went to die. I think we could all agree on, but now TV's so strong now. You know, like you've got the channels now. HBO, for instance, Sky Atlantic.
Yeah, big time.
It's just so big now. Where years ago, say you were just put out to pasture. You know, you've got the likes of Kevin Spacey and House of Cards and numerous other big names attached to Lieb Schreiber, attached to Ray Donovan. You know, all things like that. I think the TV is Disney saw this. The TV, the power of TV. Let's face it. There's a TV in everyone's home. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's not a cinema in everyone's home. You have to go out and go to cinema. There's TV in everyone's home. If we want to get everyone, we're going to put it on television to get everyone to draw them.
It's also a great way of getting the younger generation in.
Exactly. And just as Mark says, just paraphrase what Mark said there, it's put it on a Disney Kids TV show. I know loads of adults. There's a guy I work with, Martin, and he's a huge Rebels fan, which he's going to be listening to this whenever it goes out. Hello, Martin. He's a huge Rebels fan. He's a video game aficionado, and he loves all that. And he's really into this all this extended universe stuff. Which, you know, a lot of it's, well, Rob, you could tell us if it's canon now because you are Legends man, you know. But he's into all that stuff. But remember, guys, as I said ages ago in one of my wee segments, we still have a live TV show to come out of this. I'm sure of this. I'm sure that we still have something. I could see something along the likes of almost like a Baze and Chirrut type, two guys out there. Which for me, like, I know Bodhi was a standout character for me in the movie. Standout. I mean, Riz Ahmed was just exceptional. I think
he's brilliant.
He was brilliant. He was so nuanced. He was so, and is really brilliant. But I could see myself going off on a weekly show, almost like Baze and Chirrut going off, doing a raid or saving someone, or meeting someone's demanding menace, being menacing to someone, demanding money off someone, just being really dodgy, and then the following week redeeming themselves and just doing just hopping in there of these weird adventures with them. I could see something like that. Maybe not with the Donnie Yen himself being in TV because he's a big star within the Asia, but I could see we're not finished with Star Wars on the small screen as well, and that's the beauty of it.
Do you know what I'd like to see? And this has been a bugbear of mine now for 16 years, but for some reason television lost the hero somewhere along the line, and he was replaced wholesale with anti-heroes. And try and think of a TV show that hasn't a hero that isn't Doctor who is just a straightforward, simple, heroic character who does good.
Well, there's loads of ones like that. All the DC TV stuff's like that, except Constantine. Like the Flash is just a good guy. He's just a good guy. He's a bit of a cocky git, but he's still a good guy.
But even Arrow is a. I know we're trying to keep this PG,
he's got a bit of darkness to him.
There's all these dark, flawed, like from Jack Bauer all the way up to Ray Donovan.
Yeah.
Frank Underwood is one of these people. Frank Underwood's actually probably a bad guy wrapped inside a bad guy, so that's not a good example. But I think Star Wars on TV, if it's live action, might be an opportunity just to bring back the
good old fashioned TV,
the White Knight, a good old fashioned hero.
Yeah,
and Chirrut Bays, I don't necessarily see them. If they were the central characters, I don't think it's necessary that they do anything that challenges them as something other than a hero.
No.
Yeah.
They I just want to see that come back to TV.
Well, the live action is only going to attract an even bigger audience, because look at us, like collectively the five of us are probably 200 years old in age, and all of us are watching Disney XD every week,
Well, I do it on iTunes, but I take your point.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we're hooked. So, and live action is only going to add more, like in Disney XD normally, if you had 5 people watching collectively, they'd be lucky to reach 60. But look at Star Wars has done. It's everybody's into it and watching it. So,
yeah.
You want a prediction for this year?
Yes.
Go for it.
Episode 8 will be the biggest film of all time.
There you go.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair.
Mark, I would concur with that. I would concur because
I thought you were going to disagree for a second. Yeah.
Nope.
Just building to it.
Do you know what makes me think? I would say I'm just going to say it on record. You're right, because as Adam said earlier, new fans, young fans, now they have that young fan base as well that are going to go with their mum and dads and want to go and see it. So you're not talking about one or a husband and wife or a father and son going to see it. The 2 or 3 kids are going to go, and the 2 or 3 kids are going to want to go with their friends, and the dad's going to take them. And we all know we like the double dip. I went and seen Rogue One twice. Mm-hmm. We all double dip. And Mark, I think you're right. I think, and shout out to Steve. I think Titanic's going to go down, if you pardon the pun.
Yeah.
I really do. Because it's, as Adam, just to go back to what Adam said, younger fans now, and their appetite is insatiable for that big screen, even more so now with the advent.
I think also to put the cynical goggles on again. I forget what I know, right? I forget what item of clothing it is. It changes every time, I'm sure. But
cynical
I think
pants. Cynical thong.
All right.
Got a dark side, boys.
Okay, I got the pen out. Let's not start marking time codes here.
We're going bam through.
We've done so well.
Yeah.
I think that you'll definitely see an increase in viewings because of Carrie Fisher as well, because it's the last it's the last live action role most likely that we're going to see.
Many people went and seen The Dark Knight because it was Heath Ledger. Now, great film. Many people went and seen The Dark Knight because of the late and very great Heath Ledger.
Exactly.
Well, that's the morbid curiosity they call that. It's
exactly what it is.
Yeah,
exactly what it is. It's like there's nothing more immortal than death. Look at George Michael back on the chart this week with Faith.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I was gutted about that.
Oh,
that one's really, that was a real shame.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the subject of Miss Fisher, how tragic that her mother goes as well.
I know.
Yeah.
It's you got to, you've been in that family. You're just like, come on.
Yeah. Exactly.
No.
Exactly. It was actually James from Thumb Saver. I saw his tweet that said Debbie Reynolds rushed into hospital, and he was like, "Oh, come on, that's exactly what his dad said." I was like, seriously? And then
my reaction to it was like, seriously?
Yeah.
I had my mum here over Christmas, and her and I were watching Singing in the Rain.
Yeah.
It was on TV over Christmas, and I said to Leo, that's Carrie Fisher's mum. And by this stage, Carrie was in hospital. She hadn't been...
It says everything though, doesn't it? That by the end of 2016, it almost wasn't a surprise anymore.
Yeah.
No, this is it. So, who is it now?
For the next person, it was wrong. But
you see somebody trending on Twitter, you're like, oh, is it them?
Yeah.
Oh, I was checking my pulse every once in a while, and
I can never find mine.
Oh, okay, guys. Well, I think wrapping it up. We don't want to wrap it up on a down note, but again. We lost our princess recently, so and it's one of those. we would be remiss if we didn't bring it up, especially on the round table here. But
Yes.
I think we can wrap this up, and we've had a very successful episode 1, and that has everything to do with Ads and Connor.
Thank you.
Indeed.
When I
Indeed.
reached
And you guys, of course.
and
Yeah.
when I reached out to Ads and Connor immediately right away, yes, we'll let anything we can do, and then get the questions prepared, and also Marc and Rob for the flagship show. You know, when I approached you guys with this idea, it was nothing but support and nothing but thumbs up all around, and it was.
And that's why we love you.
It's because it's awesome.
Yeah.
That's why we love you.
excellent. And
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, but I also want to. I just want to before we officially sign off. Anybody listening to this, any other nights of the round table or future nights of the round table, we haven't forgotten anybody. We're gonna eventually go down the list, and if anybody wants to contact me personally, they can get a hold of me at RobertMMCast on Twitter. Direct message me if you're interested in being on a future episode of the Round Table. Also, you can get a hold of all the particulars with Mark. talkstarwars.co.uk.
Or you can just find me a message at talkstarwarsinfo@gmail.com.
Oh yeah,
And I'll pass that on to Rob.
exactly. And we're
Email I have saved the favorites.
yes, and we're not we're not forgetting anybody. We have a very so many people we've been approached by so many people wanting to be on, and also various hosts around the network that want to partake. So hopefully, episode 2 we can get a little mix and match from other hosts around the Commonwealth and really mix it up and have this be hopefully something special. So.
Well, it already feels like something special.
There we
Yeah,
go.
definitely. It's been a lot of fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So for Ads, Connor, Mark, and Rob Wade, I'm Rob Cast, and thank you for joining us for episode 1, and we'll see you next time. Later.
Thank you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
If you would like to follow any of the participants on today's show, you can find them. Mark at Talk Star Wars, Rob Wade at Rob Wade Vision, Ads at Ads Hillier, Connor at The Bald Wookie, or myself, Robert Cast at Robert MM Cast.